going to talk about one of the very best prospects in this entire class. That's VJ Edgecombe. This is someone that, Darian, unless the Hornets get the number 1 pick in the draft, we're going to be talking about him a lot this summer. Get ready, because this is a guy that has probably his floor is probably 4 or 5 in the draft, and he probably could, at this point, he's probably 3rd on my board. I would say one of the best athletes in the draft class. He's listed at 6'5". He's probably more around 6'3". Wingspan's not crazy, probably about 6'6", 6'7" wingspan. So like that's maybe those two things are like a little concerning from like a size component. To me, those are some of the few knocks on this guy as sort of like an explosive scoring guard prospect. He's made incredible strides throughout the course of the season. I saw him play for the first time last offseason when he was on the Bahamas national team that was trying to crack into the Olympics. He showed up pretty well in some of those qualification matches. Got off to a bit of a slow start at Baylor, but he has just throughout the course of the season, like he's improved as a ball handler, and he's taken on the lead guard role for this Baylor team. If you were watching Baylor play in, December, you're watching a lot of Jeremy Roach, Robert Wright, Jaden Nunn handling the ball. And those guys are still, especially Wright, I mean, those guys are still all handling the ball a lot. But at the Edgecombe, Norchad, O'Meara pick and roll has become like the backbone of the team's offense. He shot the 3 ball better as the year's gone along, 39% from deep. In Big 12 play, can play on and off the ball. Like they can get him off the ball. He's great in floppy action, coming off pin downs and like looking to attack. Unbelievably quick. I'm not sure there's like a faster player with faster, more explosive player with the ball in his hands in the 2025 draft class. In the open floor, he's a blur. Insanely competitive, is looking to dunk on guys at the rim. But as much as he certainly is like wired to score, and when he's, running pick and roll and driving, that is what he's looking to do. But he does have some he has some playmaking equity to him too. Like he can set guys up, he can create open shots, he can bend defenses. And I think he's really at like the early stages sort of like learning to like read coverages, manipulate stuff. But I'm really high on VJ Edgecombe. I like him a lot as a prospect. And Darian, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about Baylor's freshman guard, VJ Edgecombe.
Well, add me to the fan club because I think Edgecombe is a phenomenal player. He's one of my favorite players to scout, like type of player. It's just because when I look at him, it's like he's just got it. Like there's a lot of players you look at and like, oh, if they develop this, they develop this. He just looks like a pure hooper. And as good as that is, I can also count that as a negative, as in I think that there needs to be a little bit more to help him be like a well-renowned basketball player. But I mean, there's a reason why he is, like you said, his floor is probably 5. It's just because he's extremely quick. I think he's very well controlled, especially on the offensive end. Like he's not just out of control. I mean, he does make some plays like that, but I mean, he's a kid. That's what they do. I'm tired of people using that against 18-year-olds. But he's just a very well-controlled player. Like you said, he has added some playmaking and has developed that a little bit. He almost can come off as an offense by himself at times. And I like that his intensity on the defensive end, though I think that he could work on his mechanics. But usually it's the other way around. Usually you have guys who just don't bring it defensively. But they have like the size and whatnot. And as you mentioned, he may not have the wingspan. He may not be 6'5" or 6'4" as listed because he does look a little on the shorter side. But he wants to play defense. And I think that's the biggest part. You can convince a kid to play defense. You can worry about the rest later. And if we're talking specifically Charlotte Hornets, I think that he's kind of a guy that we're looking for. I have my whole little theory about how Brandon Miller and Miles look on the court together. That can kind of shake that up a little bit. And we can go, obviously we'll probably go into the offseason, but yeah, he's an incredible player. I really like everything about this guy. Like, he's just the perfect fit. I'm excited. As you mentioned, if we don't get one, it's going to be hard to say no to this guy.
Yeah. He's, he makes a lot of sense with the current like young core of the Hornets, if you want to call it that. And again, his speed and athleticism and rim pressure would be well received on this team. In my opinion. All right. We're going to flip it over to Duke, the number 1 seed in the East region, the number 2 overall seed in the entire tournament. Your recently crowned ACC champs who just won the final 2 games in Charlotte without the player that we're about to talk about. That is freshman forward Cooper Flagg. In my opinion, I mean, hands down, one of the better prospects we've seen of the last decade. As close to a sure thing as you could probably have coming into the NBA. I believe in him as not just a big time future NBA player, but the kind of guy that you build teams around for years to come. 6'9", 205 pounds, skinny, but not super skinny, and certainly has a frame where you can tell, someone's going to put him on the Jason Tatum, workout regimen. Tatum's one of his favorite players. And I've gotten to see Cooper up close. I've been at all but 2 Duke home games this season, covering them. Have been blown away with his intangibles, his communication, his competitiveness, his leadership. Guys like to play with Cooper Flagg. And given the hype and attention that he has around him, that is noticeable. Defensively, on the ball, guarding one-on-one in space, there are some issues there. He's not just this like sticky, unbreakable one-on-one defender. And he, as a help defender, he can also overhelp and miss rotations. But when he's like plugged in defensively, he's a game wrecker as a weak side, rim protector. When they have Khaman Maluach guarding pick and rolls up at the level, Cooper can shut everything down on the backside. Long arms, pesky in passing lanes, and he's looking to turn those turnovers into dunks in the other direction. Like, definitely has a flair for the moment, has shot it better as the year's gone along. 44% on threes in ACC play for the season, 37% from Duke, plenty of that off the dribble, 83% from the line, 54% on twos, drawing almost 6 fouls per 40 minutes. Look, there's too many things I could say about this guy as a mismatched piece, what he can do as on either side of the pick and roll, as a ball handler, or in the short roll, as a post up threat. Like, there are so many pathways for this guy being a superstar in the NBA. It's just screaming out. So I'll have more to say on Cooper Flagg, but Darian, your thoughts on the future number 1 pick from Duke?
No, I share every sentiment you brought up. I think that he really is. I know that this term has been used a lot, but he truly is a Swiss Army knife. Or as in baseball, they say a 5-tool player. Like, he absolutely does it all. And what I like about his game, and you could almost kind of say this about VJ, except it's on a grander scale. To me, it almost doesn't matter what he does. If he scores 5 points, well, he also has 13 rebounds and 7 assists. If he has 2 rebounds, he also has 7 assists and 3 blocks and 2. Like, he just does it all. I don't think that I don't think that we've seen a player like this in a while. That it feels as though it's certain. He may not be. Wouldn't be an excuse. He would be the number 1 pick, but I think there's no way he fails. I think that he's going to have a career in the NBA. It may not be how it's being hyped up to be, but there's no way he fails. I feel as though I can almost guarantee. I like his competitive edge, which is something I feel like, being on the Hornets podcast, I feel like we need to bring up about some of these guys is how competitive they can be. Whether the moment's low, high, he's going to compete. And I'd like how versatile he is. There are obviously some things he needs to work on. Everybody, every player needs to have things they need to work on, but I think he's an incredible talent. I like the way he's able to shoot. I like the way he's able to defend and play make. Like you said, the help side defense I think is really good, which we try to get PJ to do. He is 10 times what we wanted from PJ to me. The only thing is, like, I will say that he almost seems kind of stuck as like a 4, but I don't think that that's really, he does so much well, it doesn't really matter. But he can
also guard so many positions, and he shoots it well enough. And like, he's basically playing point. He's basically like a point forward for Duke's offense.
Exactly.
Like, I've written about this a bunch this season. Duke has basically like reoriented its 5-out offense around him. And they basically use him the way that the Celtics use Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Like, they play this 5-out look, but instead of playing the center, who we're about to talk about in a second here, instead of playing their center in the middle of the court, they space their center to the wing. And then they put the ball in their hands, like Boston does this with Tatum and with Brown. Duke does this with Cooper Flagg. And then they're running actions off of that with those guys handling the ball in the middle of the court. It's been very effective for all of Duke's stars this season. But Flagg has really, his decision-making and his passing, we didn't even touch on that. We could spend 25 minutes talking about that. Very good passer, reads the floor, very good decision maker, is consistently making the right decisions, even though he's an 18-year-old that Duke just built one of the best offenses in the country, with this guy being like the linchpin for it. So again, we'll have plenty more to say on Flagg throughout the spring and summer. Let's go to his teammate, Khaman Maluach, 7'2" freshman center, 250 pounds. Darian, I've stood next to Khaman Maluach many times. I have never felt shorter, I don't think. Like I've seen some unbelievably tall and graceful players come through Duke. Mark Williams, Derek Lively. I mean, Khaman is taller than those guys. I don't think he's, no one that size is really like laterally as skilled as Lively is. But Khaman Maluach, like I would say, like side to side laterally, a pretty good athlete too. Has moments when he's able, they switch out with him a lot, or they have him up at the level of the screen a lot. And while I don't think he's like an unstoppable, switch defender, guards can attack his top foot and get by him. His ability to do that, and go back and watch the Notre Dame game from Cameron back in January. Notre Dame runs a pretty sophisticated offense where they've got a ton of, on-ball screens, ghost screens, pin down slips, and he was just nailing all of the switches in that game. Just boom, boom, boom. Really impressive stuff. The rim protection with him, you might expect it to be a little bit better. He's not like the quickest off his feet, though I think he does cover a good amount of ground. I think there's some like untapped potential to this. I also think if Duke had just kept him in drop coverage throughout the season, like I think there's a chance he would have just blocked more shots by being around the rim more, as opposed to also being asked to guard ACC, two guards and ones in space 20 whatever feet from the rim. Offensively, one of the things that you have to love about Maluach, one, he's a great offensive rebounder. Defensive rebounding, he's a little shaky.
Yeah, it's a little shaky.
It's a little shaky. That's probably one of the numbers are good, but like the film, we're seeing him in person, he gets knocked off his plane a lot. And sometimes he just has trouble grabbing the ball, he's obviously very young, he's developing, but this guy is such a willing screener and such a willing role man. He is always, the way Lively was when he was at Duke too, just two guys that are so willing to give themselves up if it means like collapsing the defense and opening things up for the rest of the offense. He doesn't look to post up. He almost never posts up, but he isn't just a straight rim run guy. Like they throw it to him at the elbow a lot. Like he's asked to, organize offense at times for them too. I actually think the like comments on him being like in like a limited role don't really take, like he's in a limited like shot diet role. 75% of his shots come at the rim. He's shooting 80% at the rim too. But like he does a lot of stuff on both sides of the court. He's a big time prospect. He's a guy, if the Hornets are picking, 3, 4, or 5 or whatever, we're gonna have to talk about him. Because I think he's pretty safely a top 10 pick, and he's a guy that could absolutely get up into the top 6 of the draft too. So thoughts on Maluach?
I think he's just the definition of what the NBA is looking for in a center. And obviously it depends on the team. If you get a guy that's extremely talented, of course, he's a guy that's just going to show up and work like that, down to that. Like you said, the defensive rebound is a little shaky, but I like his versatility defensively still. And then, like you said, I think he's also a great offensive rebounder. I think that he is going to do what's better for the team offensively and defensively. He's really good at sitting in the dunker spot. It makes himself available offensively. So while he may not post players up, he is available. I think that whoever's driving to the rim or whoever's trying to get the ball down low, they know where he's going to be, and he's usually there, and he's usually going to get up and convert. So I like that. I like his size. I think that he's just a very, very solid player. I think that you don't, as I mentioned, Cooper won't fail. I feel as though almost he won't unless some team tries to use him in ways he's not supposed to be used.
Yeah.
But he's just solid. He's just going to do what you ask him to do. And so many times we look at the NBA and there's a center that's trying to do a little too much, maybe try to convert himself into a three-point shooter. It doesn't work out. And he's flirted with threes. I don't know if I'm like, I know when we drafted Mark Williams, it was like, oh, he's going to learn how to shoot the three. I don't know if I'm really looking for that from Maluach. I mean, fine, put him in the corner and we'll see.
He's a step beyond. I will say he's not. And he is so young, and he flirted with the three when he played with the South Sudan national team, when he played with in the BAL last season. So like, there are some, and Duke has empowered him to shoot. Like John Shire told me in October or whatever, he was like, we're telling him to shoot the ball. And he had a pick and pop three in the title game, or maybe it was the semifinals against UNC. I think it was semifinals against UNC, but he had a pick and pop three in the ACC tournament too. So like, I wouldn't bank on it, but I think he has there's a better chance that he does it than someone like Mark Williams. I just never, I would even say even more of a chance he does it than like a guy like Derek Lively, who's another guy that Duke flirted with it. And like, it was a part of the package potentially with Lively as a prospect as well. So
he looks more, I can say he looks more natural, like doing it looks a little more natural with him as opposed to everybody else. It was like, you need to add this to your game for the next level. His felt a little, it just feels a little more natural. But what he does everywhere else is so good that it's just like, I'm not going to rush it, but I definitely would like to see it because at that height, if you're able to hit at all, I think that's going to open up an offense for a team.
The other thing I would say about him too, and this is something I've gotten to notice from getting to be up close around Duke this season. This is something I said on this pod a lot during the draft process around Derek Lively. Khaman Maluach is talking the whole game. And if you're thinking about your defensive anchor, which is like what a team that takes him in the top 7 or 8 or whatever is looking for, that you want this guy to be constantly talking and calling stuff out. He's super competitive. The intangibles are good too, along with the 7'2" height, the 9'8", 9'9", whatever it is, standing reach. Again, I like the fact that he is constantly not just in motion defensively, but also like constantly communicating. Like this is becoming my like boomer basketball opinion, but just like I want competitive guys that talk a lot on teams that I'm pulling for. And Maluach really does check those boxes. So it's been a phenomenal season for him. He's a solid offensive player that I think, while he is in a limited play finishing role for Duke, he actually does more for them as like a screen setter, guy that plays out on the wing and plays in the corner, and they use him as a screener in some creative ways too. So